And look at Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete. The two of them go flying through the right-hand side, then the left-hand side. Jochen Hahn around the outside, and Lucas Hahn, no father and son, come together on the exit of turn one.
And the best thing about this is the fact that it's still a 15-minute sprint race. They've not extended the time of the race. It's still just like, it's going to be, what, 7 laps of start,
We get to the real nitty-gritty of motorsport. Cranston and Smith are side by side for the title in the very final race of the season as they go back up the hill towards the Schumacher-esque. Nils Kor clips the back at 10, Simon Povey clips the side of Nils Kor. They go over the hill and Povey's around.
Oh my god, that's going to definitely be the thumbnail when it hit me in the right direction.
Thank you so much.
23 cars.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening indeed, and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to season number 6 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. And boy, are we excited to be back for this wonderful campaign of racing. GT4 cars, always so much fun. And this community, a great laugh as well. A really friendly and hearty community from the very core of sim racing. A lot of UK drivers in this as well, but we have drivers from all over the world taking part in this championship. And it is a little bit quiet at the moment out on track as the drivers are just having their drivers briefing with the wonderful Andy Marston, the boss man at Sim Racing Magazine. He will not be racing with us this season, unfortunately, but we are always happy to have the support of him and our sponsors as well, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Orris Analytics, and everybody involved in this wonderful series. My name's Chaz Draycott, of course, but I'm delighted to have once again alongside me in the commentary box Ed May for another season of racing. Ed, we are going to have an absolute belter this time round. Shorter season with less race meetings, but still plenty of good action to be had.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Chaz. And it's great to be back here for another brilliant season of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. I'd be nowhere else if I could be anywhere else on a Tuesday night here with you and everybody watching here, of course, on Chaz Draycott Media. It has been, I think, a real stalwart of the channel, hasn't it, since we first started it, Chaz? And it's just been going from strength to strength to strength. And that's, I think, really emphasized by the fact that we have basically every single champion on the grid for this season.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Of course, reigning champion is Jake Cranstone. He's going to be out back on the circuit with us again in 2025. It's great to have him back, and lovely to see as well his teammate running the number 2 car, so they have consecutive numbering between their machines. But we also have returning as well the wonderful Nils Kaur, who won back in Season 4. We have Simon Povey, who is double champion. Single individual champion, winning Season 1 in the Spontex colours. He's got the wrong base livery on it though, so I'm going to smack him after this. Because he is once again racing for Spontex CDM Esports in the delightful BMW M4. But this car, of course, Ed, a new car to us in this championship. The first season that we have the G82 spec BMW M4 running in our midst. And there's quite a few of them on the grid as well.
Yeah, also known as the M4 Evo, isn't it? The GT4 that we have here. And it's going to be interesting to see how it manages to perform over the course of the season. Not many drivers actually opting for it for this season. It's a pretty mixed grid. We've got quite a few Porsches, definitely a few Mercedes as well out there on the grid. So I think it's mainly going to be a Mercedes and Porsche centric grid, but still with a few BMWs in the mix as well. Of course, we've got the McLaren as well, a few Astons dotted around in between them as well. Speaking of the McLarens, we've got one of the Regenta Sim Racing McLarens here, Matt Slight. Good to have Regenta back on our screens, isn't it, Chaz? It feels like it's been a while since we've seen them out and about on circuit in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 challenge. We've also got RD Simsport, Guy Edwards there, the RD Simsport 2. I think that's Christopher Smith just in behind him. Love what RD Simsport do with their liveries as well. The same sort of base, sort of almost matte black effect with the blue and then the pink denoting the 2 and the 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I had Chris down as a BMW driver for this season and do not recall him letting me know that he was going to be in the Mercedes, but knowing me, I've probably missed that. Still, we'll have a look. No, he has said that he's going to be in the Mercedes. His original thing was the BMW. So I'm going to get into looking at why he's not got a decal layer on the car. As you'll all see, we have our sponsors on the windscreen banner, Derbyshire Holiday Homes, Orris Analytics, and the SRM yellow still in the middle as well. And this is one of the Track Mouse Racing McLarens. Stephen Codman back with his teammate Mark Johnson. Really quite cool livery this, isn't it? It's inspired by a current breed of the MotoGP bikes, I believe.
Yeah, as well. Love the little play on word from Trackhouse Racing.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's great to have that little play on words there. Stephen Codman always good laugh in the Discord, and certainly racing with him as well. He is a wonderful character, great addition to the grid as ever. Plenty of great additions to the grid, and I think we have to at least shine a spotlight on one of the BMWs, a bit further down the order, but still we love seeing him. Simon Price, Lunchbox Legends Racing, and well, he always gives us a treat, doesn't he, with his liveries? And I tell you what, I could really go for a cream egg right now. I can only have about 1 or 2 like a year because the amount of sugar in them is just enough to send me into diabetic shock instantly. But I tell you, they're good.
They are absolutely belting. He's going to get a belting as well for making the Sunstrip metallic, but still, it's great to have Simon in amongst the community once again. A word on Christopher Smith's decal layer, by the way. The liveries will now reload. His ID is 428741, and there was just a slight typo. I'd put 428714. So my bad, Chris. Apologies. But yeah, a lot of the cars will go grey for just a minute, as they all, of course, reload. But here he is, Lewis Ward, out on track. 2-time champion of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, and he runs this gorgeous Team 11 livery, teaming up with his good mate PJ Clysons in these Mercedes for this season. One's red, one's purple. Now, there was a strange bit, just a little side note here, while stewarding for the GT3 Winter Tour, which we did back over December and into January, there was a strange bit of contact, an intentional contact after the race between PJ and Lewis, and a very, very big accident at the end of practice, which worried me. I thought these guys were getting into some large beef, as you could say, and a big argument, and it was very aggressive stuff. Turns out they used to race together a long time ago and used to be teammates, so it's just all banter, but I had to really work into getting that one cleared up between the two. We've got the gorgeous, actually it looks almost pearlescent purple on Daniel Mills' car, but fastest at the moment is his teammate Callum Brandt in the McLaren. Now, how good is it to have not just Callum back in the field, but so many RD Simsport drivers, Ed, because they have been a staple of the series for a few seasons now, and they are filling our grids once again.
Yeah, it is great to have all of these drivers back. Obviously, like you mentioned, RD Simsport, a real sort of familiar face onto the grid as well, but there's also another familiar face that we can see for views of Chazrek Media, but mainly from the GT3 side of things, aren't we? We've got the, if I can see them, where on earth have they gone? Looking through on the, I could see the livery on the Porsche, I just couldn't see where it went. My timing screen now. Where is it?
We've got Francois Brandet in the
There's
Unity
Francois.
racing machine. The Frenchman, a great character indeed. Lovely to have him back with us on our screens.
I was looking for a Conehead car.
Ah, yes, I know exactly who
Yes.
you mean. You're looking for Chris Jennings, who's running as a
That's the
privateer
one.
this season, but he has the Conehead Racing sort of Axis Sim Sport branding on the car as a bit of a mix between the two, which is great to see. But how cool is that? Practice ends with 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. Now they have an open qualifying session, which we've seen before, and we know that the Regenta guys like to be out there before anybody else. Let's just witness this great field leaving the pit lane, though. Drew Fletcher in the chat as well from Derbyshire Holiday Homes, one of the series sponsors. Thank you very much, Drew. We need to look at the other series sponsor as well, actually, the Orris cars. You can see there the little sort of slightly metallic and black Porsches with the big Orris O on the bonnet. They have Orris Racing Red and Orris Racing Green. And I have to say as well, a big welcome back to this man, Oliver Carwadine, back with us once again. He was with us a few seasons ago, has been racing in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship, and it is lovely to have Ollie back amongst it with Orris Racing Red for this season in that very, very shiny Porsche.
Yeah, wonderful to have Oliver back with us. A little bit as well, Chaz, if we can, just talk about, obviously we've mentioned the drivers, the grids, the cars, but we haven't mentioned about the track much, have we? Obviously this is a venue that we've been to at the start of the season, once before actually, wasn't it, Chaz, for the very first Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Round 1 of Season 1 was held at this circuit, and I know it's also a track that we've raced in GT4 machinery together in sort of recent months, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
And what do you think the drivers are going to be really trying to focus on as they get just started for qualifying?
I think it's just a case of getting a bit of track position here. It's not necessarily long lap. There's quite a lot of slipstream involved as well down that back straight, so you have to be very careful about where you place the car in a session like this. And typically Taylor Adams is one of the first cars around the circuit. He has, I believe that's Ben Chalcraft behind him in the Spontex CDM Esports Porsche. It is. Ben raced with us in this car in the Evolution Sim Racing GT4 Sprint Series and somehow got us to 5th in the Teams Championship. Ben absolutely carried Ed and I through that championship, got 5th overall. We even got trophies for 5th in the championship as well, which was my first ever trophy for sim racing driving, and a massive thanks to Ben for that. But I think one of the main people we need to speak about here, Ed, is of course our reigning champion Jake Cranstone. Car number 1 for this season. He's got his teammate as well wearing the number 2. We also actually have a brand new driver to SRM, John Bailiff. We've both commentated on him before in touring car series and all sorts, in the Win It or Bin It racing machine. He's raced in the CDM European Touring Car Championship before and in the British Boring Car Championship as well. We've commentated on him in the likes of the FTR events, Production Car Challenge Plus. And now he's hoping that his teammate Eric Mannenveld gets off the reserve list as well in the series and joins him in this Aston. They're also good friends, of course, with the other drivers in the field from the Masters of Torque team. Here's Stephen Burns with the Easy Jetter branding down it. But I think Jake and him are going to be 2 to watch this season. Jake, at the end of the day, didn't win the championship for nothing. He's a driver that knows when to attack and when to fold, let's say.
Yeah, and I think Jake was really strong just from his performances in the race. His qualifying wasn't necessarily his standout attribute. It was always about how he was able to approach the races and sort of manage the strategy as it came to him, as it was sort of materialising over the course of the season. And I definitely think he's a very clever racer, as well as just having the out-and-out pace. Now, this is going to be interesting, isn't it, to see the Spontex CDM Esports drivers in the BMW, how they're going to fare, because obviously a new car, it's going to take a little bit of adjustment, and we're going to see if they can just hit the ground running, or if there is going to be a little bit of a sort of a few bumps in the road before the smooth sailing for the rest of the season.
Well, the bump in the road at the moment is that they've not got the livery on right, which I'm upset by. They've not got white wheels either. They're supposed to have white wheels. They look like they've got a load of brake dust on them. Still, they are certainly going to be pushing the cars to get the best out of them. It's good to see Christopher Rowe back with us as well. He was racing in the SRM GT3 Winter Tour And after talking to Nils Core and a few of the admins and the guys about the recent entries and so on, which filled up very quickly. We only got 3 public entries in, and only one of them was a driver that hadn't been with us before. But we usually have it so that as a driver in the championship, if you have signed up before the season started or raced in the championship, actually raced with us in the previous season, then you get priority entry for 2 days. And then next up is anybody that's competed in another one of our special events between seasons and so on. And then it goes to public entries another 2 days later. And Christopher Rowe, Nils and some of the guys have said that to get into the championship can be quite difficult, and that has been confirmed. I mean, it's not easy to get into the series, but Christopher actually entered the GT3 Winter Tour just so he could get used to the other drivers and just so he could get into this championship. That's how high the demand is here. They have to enter other series and events to get in, and it just shows that the system works, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and it helps sort of curate that nice, close, tight-knit community that we're so proud of here, obviously, with the Sim Racing Magazine crew that we love putting on a show for. We love putting these broadcasts together for them because it is just such a great little tight-knit community. Obviously, the YouTube chat is always really positive. The Discord as well is always a barrel of laughs, both after qualifying and after the races, before and everything in between. It's just a great little tight-knit unit that we've managed to sort of... And we don't want to take all the credit, obviously. There's been a lot of work from everybody sort of helping each other out here and there and putting on these practice sessions during the week. It just brings such a great positive atmosphere, which is why I'm so happy to be part of this sort of, I think, one of the best, if not the best, little community here on iRacing. It's absolutely wonderful. We've got as well some wonderful Altitude Freedom esports cars. Tim Perry we're on board with now as he crosses the line, jumping up into 13th.
Oh, it's close to the top though. 23,000. Oh, and then Dominic Brennan in the BM goes quickest as well. Nils Core goes 5th. Top 3 separated by less than a tenth of a second. But I was going to say, of course, it's great to have Arthur Thurtle with us. His teammate Adam Watson will be joining him throughout the campaign as well. Arthur is the Sim Racing Magazine GT3 Winter Tour champion, let's not forget. So he's proved his mettle there. And, I mean, Adam Watson was a favourite for the championship before the very dramatic finale to the season. Now, we also have the other man that was involved in that as well, Ben Idris Abdullahi. Gorgeous looking satellite racing M4s, I do have to say. He's got his teammate Nils Core, previous champion as well, just in front of him. The calibre of this grid, Ed, is just absolutely magic for this season. And it is a season as well where we celebrate going back to a bit more of the sort of core roots of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. There's less stewarding, there's less sort of strict rules and things about how people conduct themselves and so on. Everyone knows that they're just here for a fun time in this championship, and that's always been reflected with the fact that we barely ever have to do any stewarding whatsoever. It's only if somebody does something deliberately or does something really bad that just stands out of the community that they may ever be removed or affected by it. And it's just great to see that we still have such a strong community despite having such a high level of talent on the grid, because as you and I both know from times in the past, you know, the calibre, when the calibre raises, it does sometimes make things a little bit more fraught and contentious. As would you look at that? 7,000 between 3 cars there, 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I think the thing is when you get a lot of fast drivers, they tend to bring a lot of baggage and a bit of ego with them. But thankfully, I think the nature of this championship and the nature of the community, everyone likes to keep everyone else's egos in check. You can never really run away with things out here, and if you make a mistake, you're made aware of, but in a sort of more tongue-in-cheek friendly way. There's never any sort of nastiness or needle, which is always what we love to see, and I think that's a real aspect of what's helped this community stay as close and sort of friendly as possible. Obviously when the drivers are out on track, all of that is, well, completely thrown out the window and they're ready to knock 7 bells out of one another. But as soon as the racing's done, it's all back to smiling happy faces, hopefully.
Here's another stalwart of the championship as well. There's so many great people in this grid. It's so difficult to get through them all. I'm sorry if you've not been shown on screen yet. But Rob Sharp, another iteration of this gorgeous Orris Racing Porsche. He's been with us since the very first season, and it's lovely to see him back now. It seems like the chrome has been completely overtaken by the blue this time round, Ed, but it's still a mighty good-looking race car.
Beautiful, isn't it? A really nice bit of kit, and good to see Rob Sharp repping it lovely as well. Got a few of the boosted cars out there as well, actually. Lee Berridge and John Roberts out on the circuit. Lee with the sort of deep blue, isn't it, towards the rear. It's got that rainbow effect going along. And the gold wheels actually sort of...
Yeah, I like that.
Quite nicely. And then I think further back we've got John Robertson, a bit more of sort of a lime green effect, isn't it? Towards the
Yes, that's John's signature colour now. You know, I've been racing with John for over 10 years on iRacing now, and I've always attributed that lime green colour to him and his team. And again, another lovely looking race car from Boosted. It's great to see the development and the sort of evolution of their liveries since day one in this championship. He's got PJ Clyson's right up behind him there in car number 98. Another one, actually, another team that are doing sort of consecutive numbering. Lewis with his usual number 97 as, whoa, John out of shape there. And PJ taking on the number 98. Lee Berridge is actually off the road. I was just going to point out a moment ago, if we just go back on board with Rob Sharp, actually, look at the interior lighting model that's changed on iRacing now, and the ambient light on the top of that roll cage up there. It takes a second to load in if you go like this, look. You go from one to the other, and it takes its time. But the ambient lighting and the shadowing and stuff looks absolutely marvellous now. You know, there's a lot more of a glow inside the cars. Some cars, like the McLaren, for example, are very dark inside still, but it's lovely to see that ambience has been changed. I don't know what quite makes it sort of turn on and off like that, but it is one of those things, I suppose. But iRacing, with their new lighting model that came around recently, have certainly done a great job. Now, he may have his livery wrong, but I tell you what, Dom Brennan, and with no disrespect to Dom, a bit of a surprise potential pole sitter at the moment at the start of the season, Ed. We've known that Dom's very quick before and that he's always going to be up there at the sharp end of the order, but I don't think many would have penciled him for provisional pole.
No, definitely not, but obviously we aren't parlayed to all of the work that's done behind the scenes, maybe if him and Simon Povey have been out working together, but certainly if the pair of them, you would have expected Simon to be just a little bit quicker, just based on at least previous results. That's no slight on Dominic, that's more of a sort of bit of praise to throw Simon's way, isn't it? And the fact that he is just so quick and so dependable every single time, and well, hot lapping is certainly one of his strengths. At the moment though, Simon, well, he's only 2/10 off of pole position. That's enough to put him down into 6th place on the grid.
Isn't it mad, though? Inside the top 7, we have all 4 previous champions. Lewis Ward in 2nd place. We have then Nils Kaur in 5th place, Simon Povey 6th, and Jake Cranstone 7th. So 3 of them starting right together. RD Simsport 2 going well as well. They've got Guy Edwards and Christopher Smith right together on track and also right together in the standings. They've got their teammate, I think that's Daniel Mills, just behind as well. Look at this.
Look as well, Chaz, at the top 5, all 5 manufacturers represented.
Oh yeah, how cool is that? How cool is that?
All within 2/10. That is a real endorsement of the BOP that, again, iRacing I think have really nailed, haven't they, for the GT4s. It always seems to be,
yes,
at least over a 1 lap. Maybe in the races it's slightly different, certain cars might be a bit better on their tyres, as I think we've been made aware of, I think, in previous seasons gone by. It does ring a great endorsement. Well, we do sometimes complain if iRacing get things wrong, say with the GTPs, they do remedy it, and I think with the balance of performance, we've certainly seen it really nailed on here in GT4s.
Yeah, I mean, look at the timing tower on the left-hand side. There's such a great mix of manufacturers and there's such a great mix of talent in this field as well. It's lovely to see it all get so well spread out throughout the order. And let's not forget, this is a fixed setup championship as well. They all run on the iRacing Sprint fixed setups. Thanks once again to Nils Kaur as well, actually. A big thanks to him, because we have sprint rounds in this championship as well, where we have, over the course of an evening, a 20-minute and 30-minute race with a reverse grid of the top 10 from race 1. And on those nights, obviously, there's not going to be any pit stops or anything like that. It's just pure sprint racing. The cars have 33% maximum fuel in this, so it obviously encourages pit stops throughout these 1 hour races like we're going to see tonight. But on the sprint nights that we have, as Callum Brandt goes within 0.02 of a second of pole, on the sprint nights they have 60% fuel in the cars. So we've had to change the setups and so on. Now, I don't own all of the cars, but thanks to Nils Kaur, who has all of the ones I don't have, he's been sorting out the setups for us, and we've just made sure the ride heights are as similar as they can be when they start with that fuel and so on. And yeah, it's all made as fair as can be. But would you look at that, Ed? Half a second between the top 18.
And 0.02 from Dominic Brennan to Callum Brandt. That is
mental, isn't it?
Yeah.
Welcome to SRM again.
Yeah, absolutely mental. Of course, let's not forget, Callum, I think we'll have the chance to finish this lap and then start another one, because with this format that we have, just the 1 hour endurance style race, I say endurance in inverted commas because for most championships 1 hour is basically just their standard race length. This is going to be a time where drivers are able to complete the laps that they're on. In the sprints, obviously, when that clock ticks down to 0, the session is basically completely killed then, and the grid is set at that point. But at least here we have a little bit more chance for some late jeopardy in the qualifying session, as drivers are really pushing hard to improve. As improved as Jake Cranstone, 5,000th faster than Dominic Brennan. Look at that, the top 3 separated by less than.
Oh, there it
goes. As I say that though, Callum Brown,
Lewis
Ward.
Unbelievable, incredible stuff to end qualifying. But yeah, 7,000ths of a second between the top 3 for a moment there. That was remarkable. Don't think Nils Core improved, but look at that. Callum Brandt takes it, flashes the light. I think Jake Cranstone flashed the lights, then Callum Brandt, then Lewis Ward. 3 different pole sitters within 10 seconds of one another. Tim Perry, he's in 14th place. He's not been able to get it together in this session. We're used to seeing Tim much higher than that. Oliver Carwadine as well. He's hoping to improve and get much further up the order. 24th place is the best he can manage. Stephen Codman goes up to 19th. Mark Johnson now will be the next car across the line. Hopefully it's a blessed lap time with that car number. It's not been such a blessed start to the season for Lewis Hamilton. But now it comes down to Taylor Adams as well, a front runner in the previous season, Ed. He's surely got to be one to watch.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what the Regenta sim racing drivers can do. As over the line he comes, was 11th, jumps up into 9th. So, not a bad session by any stretch of the imagination, but still not quite what he may have been hoping for. Ben Idris Abdullahi, again, another driver we've seen fighting for podiums in races gone by, and only muster 16th. Callum Brandt, the last driver around to set a lap time. There's no real improvements in any of the sectors, so I don't think he'll be able to get ahead of Lewis Ward. He improves his time, just not his position. But how gutting must that have been for Jake Cranstone earlier? You see him cross the line, flashing his headlights. He's been able to just to pip the other drivers by about 0.005 of a second, and then bam, bam, down into 3rd.
Unbelievable, and it is returning double champion Lewis Ward that takes pole position in the first round of the season here in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Thanks once again to Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Orris Analytics, the championship sponsors. You're listening to Chaz Draycott and Ed May here at Road Atlanta for round number 1. Thanks also to Andy Marston, the boss man at Sim Racing Magazine. All of this goes on with Andy's blessing, and he and the guys put in an amazing amount of time and effort to making this what it is. And as Gilles Gardner has just pointed out in the chat, good to see you as well, Gilles, and Martin Kenyon in there as well. He's just said that there's 23 cars within a second. That's just absolutely... And not even that, 8/10. That's within 8/10 of a second, I'm pretty sure. No, it is just within a second. 0.97 across the top 23.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. It's so great to see so many of the drivers that maybe weren't quite at that level earlier on in seasons gone by able to get themselves up there, isn't it? All those drivers developing, but we're not seeing it because the level of the championship at the very top just keeps getting better and better and better.
It really does. And I mean, how's this for a mouth-watering top 20 even? Look at this. Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt on the front row. Jake Cranstone, reigning champion alongside Dominic Brennan. Arthur Thurtle and Nils Core on row 3. Simon Povey and Matt Slight on row 4. Taylor Adams 9th. Christopher Smith 10th. Daniel Mills 11th ahead of Guy Edwards. Ben Chalcraft 13th. Tim Perry 14th. John Bailiff and Ben Idris Abdullahi on row 8. Rob Sharp down in 17th place. I remember when Rob was getting podiums back in season 1. PJ Clyson's in 18th. Stephen Codman 19th with Lee Berridge completing the top 20. Stephen Burns is alongside Dennis Van Beelen, who's 22nd. Car number 22 is Chris Jennings. He's 23rd ahead of Oliver Carwadine. Welcome back, Ollie, in 24th. Mark Johnson, 25th ahead of Christopher Rowe. Ryan Penny, 27th with Kim Such, 28th. Francois Brandet, newcomer to the championship, 29th ahead of John Roberts. Simon Price and Chris Humphreys round out the 32 cars that we have here to get our season underway. Now, they're going to form up on the back straight here, Ed. Of course, it's rolling starts in this championship, and they're doing what's known as the short parade lap for this one, and I'm sure they'll be very grateful for that, considering that the pace laps on some of these circuits are going to last a long, long time. But it's so early in the season, obviously the very first round. I don't think we can really make any assumptions here, but is there anyone that you've got your eye on in particular? Because, like I've said, it's a mouth-watering grid, isn't it?
It really is. We know, obviously, Callum Brandt in the season's gone by has been able to manage the tyres and manage sort of the pace from the beginning of the race till the end quite well. It's something that he was always really strong at. So we're going to have to look out for that. But obviously, reigning champion Jake Cranstone, he's going to be another driver, I think, that's going to be able to manage the race. But once more, Lewis Ward, he put that car on pole for a reason. He's a double champion as well, if memory serves correctly. So it's difficult to call one way or another. I basically just waffled and said anyone can win it.
Well, we're about to find out for the 6th season. I can't believe we've done 5 of them already. But season 6 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge is about to get underway. It's Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt on the front row, and Lewis goes now, and we're underway at Road Atlanta, and the field is side by side all behind, but some of them have really been caught out. Look at that, they have been caught napping big time in the back. Single file quite a long way further down the order. You've got a load of BMWs in the middle of the pack here, but everybody keeps it tidy 2 by 2 up the hill. Can they all keep it together into turn 3? Side by side further up, one of the Regenta cars. That's the Mercedes, I think, of that is Taylor Adams, isn't it, going down the inside, making a lovely move. But loads of the field there caught single file. Ed as slights off the road. Whoa, and around goes Christopher Smith.
Yeah, off the road there, Christopher Smith. I think that was a Regenta car. Matt Slight as well, off into the barriers by the looks of things. A battered front end, not what you want to see, but Lewis Ward is going to be happy to see himself far ahead of the Chase Impact, nearly a second clear of Jake Cranstone in behind. Jake got a great start, managed to get himself along the inside of Callum Brandt into turn 1, just because of how fast and how sort of long that right-hander is. It really gives the advantage to the drivers up on the inside, especially because the following corner after that, sort of the crest of the hill, is another right-hander as well. So Jake really able to make good advantage of that inside line on that sort of third or second row of the grid on the right-hand side to great effect. Niels Core, we can see on board here at the tail end of this train from the lead car, Lewis Ward. Single file for now. Drivers know that there's a long way to go before the end of the race, so they might have a bit of a flow of activity to get track position, but then we'll start to see them begin to manage it a little bit more.
Don't forget as well, there is a teams championship in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, so everybody has to think about them and their teammate. There's 2 cars per team, but would you look at this lovely flying formation from Orris Racing Red and Orris Racing Green at the moment. Carwadine, Such and Penny all together. Heinz Mayer is not here for the first round of the championship. He's on what he called his hollybobs at the moment, and we hope he's having a wonderful, wonderful time. I'm sure he will be. He's a great, great bloke indeed. Dennis Van Beelen, good to see him back as well, already getting to the thick of it right now. He's got Stephen Burns in front, Stephen Codman just behind. Bit of movement here as Ben Shellcraft has had a bit of a wobble. Rob Sharp has also had a drama, and through on both of them goes Lee Berridge. Thank you very much, I'll have one of them. But Christopher Smith into the pit lane here, Ed. It's a big shame to see a drama that early on.
Yeah, it really is. There was always going to be one, wasn't it? The first lap of the first round of the season. It was just a little bit of a wiggle, wasn't it? Was that the... It was 175 Christopher Smith, wasn't it? Just sends him wide into Matt Slight, and Matt, again, just taken offline. The grass, it just seems to really upset the balance of the car. Let's not forget on cold tyres as well. It was just a small moment, wasn't it? No real thing that either driver could have done. We'll see on board Daniel Mills.
It already happened.
Great view, yeah.
It's really strange, isn't it? It's really, really strange. It had already happened, basically. He had that one moment, recovered it, and then it's the tiniest tap that unsettles both of the cars so much, and then before you know it, they spit off in both directions. Both drivers hitting the wall hard, but you know what? The field was very lucky not to get caught up in a big bottleneck there.
Yeah, so I think a slight bit of contact, but when the cars are so heavily loaded, you can see on that right-hand side as they're coming down through the compressions, it's just a recipe for disaster if you get anything that unsettles the balance of the car, as we see the car's very unsettled actually on the way out of those S's. Taylor Adams right behind Simon Povey. Simon with a great start actually up 1 position, Taylor Adams up 2. Brennan dropping actually behind Arthur Thurtle from that start. We'll hope to try and reclaim that position, but still out in front. Lewis Ward leading the way with the fastest lap actually last time around, at 25.32. So while he's giving a slipstream to the cars in behind, still got plenty of pace as well. Jake Cranstone there though. I think he's again a driver that we know likes to manage the races, doesn't he? He doesn't like necessarily going full attack if he can do without it. But then we do also know that the Jake Cranstoun send is lethal.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of both from Jake, and that's what makes him such a really, really good driver, is the fact that he knows how to manage races like this and not attack throughout, where to just pick his battles. But then in the sprint races, he is absolutely ruthless and just continually moving forward.
And he's hard to really battle against, to be honest. Nils Core and Taylor Adams and Simon Povey all together. They've got Guy Edwards behind. It's like an all-stars championship now of SRM this already. It's fantastic. But
a lot of the drivers in different cars to what we've seen them in before, and that's again what makes it so fun to commentate on season after season of something like this, when there is such a vast selection of cars, is that we get to see people racing different things. You get the staples like Rob Sharp, who's been in that Porsche since day one, and I think he'll be in that Porsche until he stops sim racing. But that's the opposite side of it, and the opposite character of it is Lee Berridge. As I look down the inside of newcomer John Bailiff, great to see these two fighting together as Lee very close to the back of that Aston Martin.
Yeah, Lee actually, I think, just getting out of the slipstream a little bit to then, I think, dip back into it, so he's going to get that slingshot effect, because he was so close behind. Who's that coming on? That's a Rob Sharp.
Yeah, Rob Sharp's on the right here somewhere. There he is. Look at that thing go.
He's going to try and thread the needle if he can. No, not quite. Lee Berridge covers off the inside. Retains that 15th position. It's close battles everywhere we look, so it's going to be difficult to keep track of everything. I know Ben Chalcraft's actually close, I think, with Rob Sharp. There we go. Ben having a little look up the inside. I think just trying to take advantage of Rob's compromised line. Just no real chance for the move to be made there.
What I was going to also point out this season is that we have a new interesting point system. We used to have it so that the point system in the sprint races was almost identical to that of the feature races, let's call them, these 1 hour races, but the actual point scoring positions have been changed, so we can thin out the point scoring and we don't get as much of a runaway winner as the championship goes on. There's a drop round this season as well, so it's really going to be a close fought championship fight. But in the endurance races like this, the 1 hour races, it's anybody in the top 20 that will score points, but in the sprint races you've got to be in the top 12 to score points as well. And we've often seen it, haven't we, Ed, where drivers have had a bad race one and they're able to recover in race two and get back into the sort of top half of the field, but it saves people using that second chance as an opportunity to run away in the championship. So it's gotten a little bit more level, but also a little bit more savage at the same time.
Yes, and we'll have to obviously see. It's difficult to predict exactly how that's going to pan out, isn't it, from this early point in the season, but I can already tell just from the level and how close qualifying was, how close the races are right now as well, with so many drivers within that sort of second window. It's pretty much just a sea, isn't it, of yellow, red and orange on our timing software showing the gaps under a second. Does mean that we are in for an all-time classic for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. But we seem to say that every season, don't we, Chaz?
It just gets better and better every year.
Yeah.
Tim Perry has just overtaken Daniel Mills. He's just made up a place. Ben Idris Abdullahi, it seems weird to see him down in 12th position. Even then you've got PJ Clijstens behind as well, a race winner in the GT3 Winter Tour. There's just so much incredible talent all the way through this field that it's hard to know who could really win a race. And we've said it before that, in previous seasons there was probably 8 drivers that could have won any race in the championship, and in other seasons, it was even closer. There's maybe only 3 drivers that could win a race because of the caliber. But now, anybody in that top 15 could be a race winner, even in these hour-long races, not just the sprints with a reverse grid element. It could be anybody at the very top end of the order that could win one of these.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing to note, is that with the sort of slightly shorter season of 7 races, I mean, we could easily have someone who wins the championship without actually winning a race.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 10 races, but 7 meetings as such.
Yes.
3 sprint race meetings, so 6 of them, and then we have, of course, then the remaining ones are all just the endurance formats, so to speak. And it's going to be an absolute riot, I think. It's going to be mega.
Really will.
Great start, though. It's Lewis Ward leading the way here at Road Atlanta from Jake Cranstoun, Callum Brandt, Arthur Thurtle, Dominic Brennan, Simon Povey, Taylor Adams, Nils Core, Guy Edwards and Tim Perry. Like I say, reading out that top 10, it's like an all-stars list of all that SRM. Guy Edwards, great to have him back with us as well. for some reason, unfortunately for Guy, one of my main memories of him was the epic bit of teamwork that he had at Jerez. I think it was back in season 4, and him and his teammate coming together on the pit lane entry at Jerez, which is a typical nightmare. We're actually going to be commentating at Jerez tomorrow night as well. The CDM Formula 1 World Championship going there for its 5th round of the season, but that is by the by at the moment because the exciting racing is all happening here at Road Atlanta. This is great stuff so far, but lovely clean stuff, I have to say. Touch wood when I say it. Only one real incident so far, to be honest, Ed, and it was the tiniest bit of contact.
Yeah, right at the beginning of the race as well, but there is actually a Mercedes hidden behind that tower block of a BMW. PJ Clyson's just tucking in behind the rear bumper and not really opting for the move. I think if anything, was more trying to push Ben Abdullahi along to make up ground towards Daniel Mills and Tim Perry further up the road.
Yeah, they just really want to not lose that train, but at this point it's a bit difficult for PJ because he's quicker than Ben Idris Abdullahi and he's able to stay with him with the slipstream as well, which makes his job that little bit easier. Maybe saving a bit of fuel, hoping to jump him, because let's not forget that strategy comes into the mix in these races as well. We've often seen him. I mean, look what Callum Brandt's doing right now. He's sat behind Jake Cranstone. He's not making the body language of that McLaren look like he's desperate to make a move or fly on by. He's just happy to sit there, as I'm sure Don Brennan is happy to sit behind Arthur Thurtle right now. He knows what the situation is. He knows what he needs to do. And at the end of the day, if he's saving fuel, then why not? The fuel limit should encourage 2 pit stops in these races as well. We reduced it slightly during the previous season halfway through, so it went down from, I believe it was 40% we had it at, and it's now 33. So, no, it went from 35 to 33 because 35 was quite a comfortable one stop, so long as there was a little bit of lift and coast. But now that extra 2% makes quite the difference, and the drivers can't really save it in the first stint at all, but the second stint, a little bit more open. We've seen people try a single stop, and it's definitely not easy, is it?
No, it isn't. It's something that gives the drivers something to think about, which is what we love, isn't it? We love it when the drivers have to really think on their feet, approach the races differently from also circuit to circuit, because certain circuits burn the fuel a little bit more than others, places with a lot of, sort of flat out sections. I think Daytona is a real perfect example of that, where the drivers are pretty much always doing the 2-stop. But then we have seen certain other circuits. I think it was the first time we saw it actually on the 1-stop was a circuit where you're not really flat out for so long, and it was at the Hungaroring.
Yes,
If I remember correctly.
That was Callum Brandt and Christopher Smith actually pulled off a miraculous one-stop strategy. Really took our breath away with that race and the rest of the field. John Roberts as well famously made it to the end on just one stop, but his result was a bit further down the order, so it didn't get quite as noticed. But yeah, John managed it too, and it was the first circuit where it really opened our eyes to the possibility of that. And since then, we've been pushing on and on to make sure that there are more pit stops and more stints in these races. And there may be more to this one as well, because by the look of it, Lewis Ward is maybe backing off slightly here, and Jake Cranstone is not messing about. The reigning champion goes down the inside into the chicane, but he's outdone himself. Lewis Ward now goes straight on and straight back into the lead, and Callum Brandt, in all of that, has gained a place.
Yeah, he outdid himself and overdid it into the braking zone, running wide, and Callum, again, really opportunistic. That's something we see a lot from Callum, is that he's smart. He knows where to position the car, can see that happening a mile off, and decided, right, I'm going to just adjust my braking zone into this chicane, just in case anything goes awry, and it paid out beautifully for him. So, hard work from Jake Cranstone didn't pay off, but it's not over yet. He's still in the podium places, and that race lead is not a million miles away. So, something that you'll have to take on board, learn from. Still a long way to go in the race. We could see that little move that he made earlier, that little practice move. If he's able to learn from it, could be a race-defining moment later on.
Yeah, Jake really went for it on the brakes there. I don't think he expected Lewis to be braking that early, and he thought, mint, I've got this done. As he turns in, the car just doesn't give him the braking performance. Good stuff by Callum Brandt. Oh, that was very close, but good stuff by Jake to not let the car run too far wide of the apex on the exit. But what it's done is now bring that group closer together. The top 5 are all all 5 different manufacturers as well, which is so cool to see. Mercedes leads McLaren, Porsche, Aston Martin and BMW. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Simon Povey. Don't get me wrong, I'm very happy to see both Spontec CDM Esports blue cars in the top 5. Never mind, top 6. Shut up, Chaz, can't do maths. but they're clearly the team with the 2 cars the highest placed at the moment. But right now, Taylor Adams, Nils Core, Guy Edwards, they're all waiting in the wings here, and they are all drivers that will definitely take advantage. But how cool is this, Ed? Top 9 separated by less than 5 seconds.
It's amazing.
A quarter of the way
really
through.
Is. It's just bonkers, isn't it? And we'll have to see, of course, how the pit stops shake up the order. But for now, just sit back and enjoy this amazing opening round for what is set to be a brilliant season. Jake Kleissens following him. Or following Barra the Benij Sablahi. We are on board with PJ Kleissens. The Team 11 Mercedes. Again, I love the Team 11 liveries. They're a little bit sort of more understated, aren't they? But they've got that sort of almost asymmetric side from one to the other.
Yeah, I thought it was unfinished a while ago, but it really is. That's the livery, and it really does look good. It's got this sort of matte white effect to it, but then also the big metallic sections as well. And PJ Kleissens and Lewis Ward are certainly a strong duo to have a go at the Teams Championship. Not quite the start they would have wanted at the moment, but I know that the guys are going to be working hard as Mark Johnson looks down the inside of Chris Jennings there, tries to stick his nose in where it is not wanted, very late. Chris Jennings says, no thank you, mate. I may have a traffic cone livery on the car, as it's very very noticeable. But I quite like this Axis Sim Sports sort of Conehead Racing hybrid. Ed and I commentated on the Conehead duo of Will Soper and Fraser Smith in the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. It's great to see that they are now sort of bridging the gap and making it over here into GT4s. Lewis Ward, though, still in the lead here, Ed, and not quite having it all his own way.
No, definitely not. I think he was happy where he was for the first 15 minutes, but then that move by Jake Cranstone, while it worked in Lewis's favour, I think it's a real sign now that he's got a proper fight on his hand, and Callum Brandt right there in behind might be a slightly better car to have following you than Jake Cranstone, because you know Jake is a bit more likely to make that send than compared to Callum. Obviously as well, Lewis and Callum, they've raced against each other numerous times, of course, in GT4 machinery. Jake Cranstone, I think he made his GT4 debut, wasn't it, last season?
Yes,
and
yeah, he
serves
did.
right. Obviously won the championship, so he's certainly no slow peddler, quick in pretty much everything he seems to get behind the wheel. We're yet to find a car that Jake can't drive fast.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Very irritating. He's a great guy as well, so you can't even be annoyed at him for his personality.
No, absolutely. I did take the mick in the Discord earlier in the week, saying that the only reason that the car was gold was to just please his massive ego, but that's definitely not the case, that he's got such an ego. My good friend Paul Jeffrey, who's been commentating on the Formula One World Championship over a couple of rounds, also said that people like him and people like Ian Stitchbury as well, who was actually talking to us in the YouTube chat while driving in Formula One, Paul said that people like him sicken him, and it's obviously a lot more fun to be grossly incompetent. And I agree.
Yeah.
We've had, unfortunately, a moment for Simon Price just off the road. This might just be on the exit here of the right-hander. The cream egg, oh, hello, getting a little bit more of a dusting on the edge there of the circuit. Chris Humphreys also having a bit of a rough start to his campaign. He's just gone a little bit deep here, I think. No? Oh, hello. It got away from him there, didn't it? Got away on the left-hand side, and it's easily done. Very easily done around that part of the circuit, because you're going over a crest.
Well recovered, though. It's say, because the car gets so sort of light and unloaded as it comes over that crest. You're just a few false corrections away from just having your race completely ended, because you're going at such a high rate of speed as well. You can't slow down to stop yourself going into a barrier. If it goes wrong, you're beating that wall no matter what you're wanting to do. So really well recovered. Jake Cranstone, was that a lot of lifting coast we just heard there?
It was.
Saving the fuel. Not sure if we heard it as well, actually, from the McLaren.
Yeah, I think so.
Callum as well.
The McLaren is known for being quite a thirsty racing car, to be fair. And I think that Callum right now, he knows that as well. He knows how to manage this race, but he's filling the mirrors of Lewis Ward, I think. I think knowing that the first pit stops are just around the corner, he's starting to wind it on a little bit now.
From memory as well, from at least my time driving it, and bear in mind I only drove the car in Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge terms for I think a couple of races before I ended up switching over to the Aston Martin, but it was, especially around this circuit actually, really quite heavy on its tyres. I'm not sure if obviously it's been able to have been tweaked over the builds in iRacing, but I do remember it was of the GT4s the harshest on the tyres. So we'll have to see, of course, if that's going to affect late stint performance. Obviously, in these cars now, they are able to take tyres at the same time as fuel. Drivers often opting for either the left-hand side tyres around here or the fronts, depending on how worn they get. Usually the rears are a little bit easier, but depending on the circuit, sometimes it's more one side to another.
Yeah, and a few of the drivers as well that I've spoken to behind the scenes have said that in their respective cars they've considered taking a front left tyre around here at each stop, because it's absolutely getting destroyed when you really have to push them. It's on a, I believe it's on a newer compounder tyre, as a lot of the field now come into the pits, pretty much everybody making their way in. If I choose the right camera, it'd be great, wouldn't it? You can see there Simon Price and Chris Humphries just getting going, but the lead gaggle are in. But would you look at who has gone through, Ed? It is, of course, Taylor Adams and Nils Kaur, two drivers that we've seen many a time play the strategy game in SRM, and they have not changed a bit. They're back to their old tricks. PJ Clyson's doing the same as well. He's sat behind the wonderful Ben Idris Abdullahi for a long, long time. And you can see cars taking tyres. Look, the Altitude, ironically, Altitude Aston Martin up in the air. The RD Mercedes as well. Doesn't look like Jake Cranstone's taking tyres, or Dominic Brennan.
Lewis Ward, I don't think, took tyres either. It seemed to obviously get going at roughly the same time. And look at the launch there from
Callum,
the McLaren. Callum Brandt, he's got that sort of biting point nailed.
Yeah, Callum absolutely disappears out the pit lane, takes what may be the race lead now. Taylor Adams on the back half of the circuit ahead of Nils Kaur, PJ Clyson's. Matt Slight also carried on as well. Let's not forget he had, oh no, he didn't have an early stop. He's actually carried on with that damage to try and make something of this next part of the race, but look at where he is compared to the leaders. Obviously a long way down. Callum Brandt and Lewis Ward are now still battling away. Jake Cranstone just behind Arthur Thurtle next up. He has not jumped Dominic Brennan, as I was just about to incorrectly say. What about Simon Povey? Simon was in the pits for 11 seconds longer than a lot of other people. Not quite sure what's happened there, whether he's taken more tyres than he would have wanted, but he's now got John Bailiff for company and runs in 14th position. How the mighty have fallen. Taylor Adams into the pits. A good shout to Howl Raven, who I believe is Simon Price's wife. She said exit. I see what you did there. I didn't actually mean to do that either. Talking about the cream egg machine. That was a nice transition, wasn't it? But yeah, Simon is he's trying to... No. It's too easy. I can't. Nils Kaur in the pits. Previous champion of Season 4 of the SRM GT4 Challenge. Now has to get cracking, because here comes... Oh, there it is. Here's Callum Brandt. I didn't even mean it. I didn't mean it, I promise.
I was trying not to egg you on, Chaz.
Oh, for God's sake. Welcome back, everyone. Lovely to have you. Callum Brandt then, Lewis Ward, Jake Cranstone, Arthur Thurtle, Taylor Adams comes back out into traffic, and he has got ahead of Dominic Brennan. That's going to feel like a very important one. They jump a lot of that turn 3 curb. Guy Edwards is also ahead of Nils Kaur. I'm pretty sure they were the other way round earlier on. Nils Kaur in 8th position though, and now it's Callum Brandt in the McLaren that leads the way. We're not quite at halfway yet though, Ed. Still plenty more to happen in this race, but you can see that the strategy is definitely coming into play in this opening round, and it will do at the likes of Sebring, Donington Park and Imola later on in the season. The sprint rounds are going to be taking place at Interlagos, Spa-Francorchamps, which I thought was a bit of a curveball, because normally you'd associate Spa with endurance racing. And the final race meeting of the season at the Nürburgring is a sprint round as well. So 2 races, and that race meeting cannot be dropped.
No, obviously, importantly, the final round not being dropped for championship points reasons, of course, all the permutations. We want basically the championship order to be settled going into that final race meeting, so drivers don't need to do any sort of on-the-fly maths of figuring out what drivers are dropping, what they might be able to score as a result of dropped points. It's just all sorted out, so on that final round, every driver knows what they need to score to come out on top in their sort of respective championship fights, and as well in the team's championships as well. It makes it a lot easier, because with the amount of points that can be dropped and fiddled about there, it's too much headache to even think about.
Yeah, absolutely is. As Arthur Thurtle has come back into the pit lane here. Arthur Thurtle not having the start he would have wanted here with a second pit stop. I just didn't catch how long his initial pit stop was.
Was he maybe speeding on the way out of the pits?
Yeah, I wonder if he had. Because if he...
Yeah,
go on. We were going to explain the same thing then, weren't we?
Yeah.
Go on, you go.
If he had a pit lane entry infringement, then that would have been added on to his initial stop time.
Yes.
So he wouldn't have had to come round again. So it's most likely something on pit exit that has affected Arthur Thurtle, which is why we're seeing him come into the pits now, serving that penalty. And by the looks of things, with his time stationary in the pits, it seems like it was either a pit exit penalty of, I think the only way you can get it around there is either from a speed limit infringement or by crossing over a white line on the exit.
Well, we'll find the moment he left the pits. Yeah, that's definitely early. Yeah, he saw when he realised he backed off. Seemed like the limiter wasn't off. That definitely seemed early to me. Although it's there. Ooh, I don't know.
I think he has the limiter on. I think he...
No. Oh! Povey's
Simon.
around. Wow, this is a real shake-up for the Bucks. This new season is really throwing some of our absolute, like I say, all-stars completely in at the deep end here. Simon having to wait for a second for more cars to go past. He's really having to Austin Powers this, isn't he? Bless him. Back underway and out of the points, down in 24th position, now 25th as well behind Kim Such. Not something we'd normally say about Simon Povey, his 24th position. I wonder if he's had a drama. He was going to come back into the pits then. Oh, he's gone down the inside of PJ Clyson's. Just overcooked it. And unfortunately bounces off the side of the Mercedes. Chris Humphries also went off track around the same time. He's come into the left-hander here. As, he's caught that curb and around it goes and into the wall. And I believe Chris did continue on. Yeah, good on him. He cracked on still after that. But back to the front, it is Lewis Ward, second place at the moment. Callum Brandt ahead of him. Callum, potentially, I mean, I don't want to sound disrespectful to any of the other front runners we've ever had in the championship, but Callum is possibly the most likely driver to have won a championship in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge that hasn't, surely. He's always up there, isn't he?
As I'm right here.
Oh, Sugar, yeah, that one.
That one.
No, to be
that
fair,
one,
though,
season 1.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, though. Is consistency from the amount of seasons where he's been right up there at the very end. You know, he's such a deserving champion if he gets one, just for the amount of time that he's put into this series. But yes, of course, let's not forget that I am joined by vice champion of season 1, Ed May, in the commentary box as well. He took on
champion. I'm first loser.
No, he took on Simon Povey in season 1 with great gusto right to the end of the season. It was mega stuff. As we see Francois Brandet, he's making himself known amongst his Porsche driving compatriots. Ryan Penny, he moves past the number 99 car. Francois is a driver that we are very happy to have in the season. Simon back into the pits. I think he's looked at the front of that BMW, and that, I believe, is all she wrote from Simon, I'm afraid.
Yeah, not what you want to see. But Simon, again, he's just had his rotten luck from, well, the previous seasons just seem to carry on. He's been a really strong driver, and I think there's just been sort of bad luck here and there that stopped him from being more than a one-time champion of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, because if you look at his performances and his consistent level at the top from season 1 till now, he's a driver that could have easily, if other things had went his way, been a multiple time champion in this series. So it is a shame to see his season start in a way that he would certainly want to avoid. Again, with drop rounds, it becomes less of a sort of tough pill to take. It just means that he needs to be pretty much flawless from now until the end.
Yeah, that's the thing. He does have the drop round to think about. Tim Perry, as it's just been pointed out by Martin Kenyon actually in the chat, has dropped down to 20th position. He was in the pits for 21 seconds. It seems like he's had a bit of a dint in the door of that Mercedes as well. So I'm going to try and have a look and see whether I can find out what happened there. John Roberts had a drama. Oh, dearie me. John Roberts had a big old hit into the wall. What on earth happened there? He's going down the hill. He's going to hit that curb on the inside. Yeah, it just hooks the car, and look at that. Oh, that's a sickening impact. That is a big hit into the barrier there. But yeah, we have also had a drama for Tim Perry. I'm not quite sure. Now I found it. Let's have a look here. No, Chris Humphries is here. Tim was trying to lap them, and oh no! I think he was just trying to get out of the way, was Chris. I think he tries to dive over to the right. on the exit to get onto that inside line, not knowing that Tim has already cut across the inside. Oh, that does not make for sweet, sweet viewing, does it?
No, that certainly does not. Meanwhile, sweet viewing is in the rear view mirror of Callum Brandt, as he has now got over a second to Lewis Ward. And that is the biggest gap I think we've seen all race long, from first to second. But mainly that's because I think Lewis is starting to feel the pressure of Jake Cranstoun really breathing down his neck. You can see the gap between them is just a few tenths of a second, and he's got this Porsche really under control now.
You can really see how much these cars bounce around on the surface here at Road Atlanta. It is definitely one of the bumpiest circuits that we're going to go to on the calendar. It's lovely to see the behaviour of these cars. A lick of flame there from the Mercedes exhaust. Still 4 different manufacturers in the top 4, and it does look like Jake Cranstoun's got this thing hooked up. Where is Lewis Ward going there? Is he saying, nope, you go through? I think he doesn't want to focus on the rear view mirror here, does he, Ed? He doesn't want to sit and stare in that mirror while he's trying to drive as quickly as possible. And I think he knows as well that in the background, Dominic Brennan and Taylor Adams, excuse me, they're pushing on to try and catch up with this group, aren't they?
Yeah, they're trying as best they can, but there's only really so much you can do when you don't have that slipstream to help you out. It's just more about hoping that the cars ahead of you slow each other down, because bump drafting, while it gives you a little bit of a benefit, doesn't really give you a whole lot.
No, absolutely. We've seen it before as well, that drivers that you can spend too long chasing down a group, and chasing down a car in front and sitting behind them. So you have to be careful, really, to not miss your chance. And as pointed out very rightly by Martin Kenyon, there is a bit of damage on the front of Lewis Ward's car. It is just pumped in slightly. It's been pushed in a little bit, but I'm not sure whether that was... Oh no, it has actually had quite the whack on the front, hasn't it? I wonder where that's come from. I don't know if he got close to the guys earlier on, because I know that he was close in a fight when it came to Callum Brandt earlier, but...
Callum's car doesn't seem to have any damage on the rear end. Looks pristine, if anything.
Yeah, I don't know if it's... Yeah, I wonder whether he got that close he's actually hit the back of him, but now he might be losing a bit of speed as a result, which is why Jake has found it so easy to get past. And look, even in the slipstream, Lewis isn't able to close in as much, is he?
No, so maybe we're going to see Lewis go for a slightly earlier pit stop, get that fast repair done and out of the way, so his car is obviously less wounded on a straight. Might not be able to close in on the... we'll definitely have to look into that over the course of the race, if this is going to be maybe a downturning fortune for Lewis Ward. Taylor Adams and Dominic Brennan once more nose to tail, but can't afford to battle lest they miss out on a chance for a potential podium. Drivers currently 4th and 5th, scoring good important championship points though early on in the season. Certainly would be a great help for them and their championship aspirations, with some bigger name drivers, notably likes of Simon Povey not scoring big points. Arthur Thurtle as well, way down the order as well after the pit lane incident. I think it was mainly a sort of a speed limit issue. That's going to really help out. Christmas, as well, it's going to really help out a lot of these drivers that are able to get good points on the board for their championship hopes further on.
Matt Slight as well down in 21st place. He's not quite in the points yet, but he's got 1 and a bit seconds to Mark Johnson ahead if he wants to gain a point scoring position, as Guy Edwards has had a spin on the exit. Nicely recovered though to get it back underway. Flash of the lights on the exit. Not sure if he's listening. Let's have a look here. Just loops it on the exit there, and Nils Core gets a freebie. Very easily done, but again, that just shows you, doesn't it, Ed? These guys, these cars, they always look like they're in such control and they're just gliding along so easily, and you kick their heads in everywhere and they're stable. They are quite on the knife edge, aren't they, really? And even the best in our field can very easily let it go.
Yeah, actually this two-way fight for 4th could become 3 as on the last couple of laps. I say that Nils Core was reeling in, but actually,
he's just dropped a little
Brennan
bit.
And Taylor Adams have pulled ahead now, just by about a tenth or so on that last lap. But I think the trend is certainly in Nils' favour at this moment in time. He's putting on a good run of pace, and just 1.5 seconds back. Might be getting a little bit of a toe. And that back straight. Not a lot, but still enough to maybe help him close up that little bit more.
I think the main difference is going to be that when Taylor Adams has to back out of it early and lift behind Dominic Brennan, as you hear the lovely crackle from the BMW, when he has to lift that bit early and compensate for the car in front, that's going to make the big difference here. So Nils is going to gradually reel them in. Good stuff by Simon Price there, moving out the way nice and cleanly from these guys. Let's check back in, shall we, with our newcomer to the series, John Bailiff, currently in 12th position. He's got Rob Sharp, PJ Clysons, and then Ben Idris Abdullahi just ahead. 4 different manufacturers on show here in this one battle. But John doing a tidy job so far. He's up 3 positions from where he started. PJ Clysons is up 8. Ben Idris Abdullahi's up 7. Francois Brandet on his debut up 7. Chris Jennings also up 7. Taylor Adams up 4 as well inside the top 10. Same as Daniel Mills and Guy Edwards. But John clearly doing a very clean job in this first ever round of the championship. And he's on for points on his debut, which I'm sure will make him happy.
Yeah, it's the perfect way to start off your campaign in a new championship, is to score some good championship points. And like I say, John Bailiff in with a great position to do so, up in 12th, and certainly not shying away from a fight, is he? He's right in the midst of sort of season stalwarts. Rob Sharp, who's been here from the very first season. BJ Clysons as well, another driver that we're glad to have with us for this season. Team 11 Belgian racing driver. More in the midst of Ben Idris Abdullahi. These two have been inseparable nearly all race long, haven't they?
Yeah, apparently Daniel Mills has only just overtaken Guy Edwards for P7. The event viewer has only just moved down past that, and it was a while ago, so sorry about that. Just thought I'd check it while I got the chance. But yeah, we've got some fantastic returning drivers that have joined us for the very first time this season. It's a great mix, and this obviously been the first round of the championship. Usually it's a bit more chaotic as drivers get used to one another and try and figure out what the score is amongst their fellow competitors. But at this moment in time, well, Matt Slight trying to save fuel. I think he's trying to make up for the fact that he pitted so early, isn't he, here? Sat behind Mark Johnson. He just wants to get that first championship point on the board. All he needs to do is overtake that number 44 McLaren, and he gets that championship point, so long as he finishes there anyway.
Yes, obviously it's all about finishing there. There's still 23 minutes to go in this race. Plenty of things can happen. Obviously pit window is open for a lot of the drivers, aren't they, now, to come in for their final stops. If they pit now, they should be able to fuel up and go till the end of the race. It's just about the strategy now of deciding when is best to make that call. Chris Jennings trying to see if he can find a way ahead of Dennis Van Beelen on track before deciding if he needs to make a bit of a pit lane strategy call. Sorry, Chaz, go on.
Dennis just had him actually out of the final corner. I did wonder whether it had gone one way then the other. Oh, Chris having a bit of a blink in and out. We've seen him do that before, so we know that it's not that big an issue. He's finished many a race and been fine. Matt Slight still on the back of fellow McLaren driver Mark Johnson. But what a lead this is for Callum Brandt at the moment. 1.7 seconds now, really putting his stamp of authority on this second stint of the race. And this is the thing, it's difficult to plan out these stints when it is so tight on fuel. So it's great to see that, you know, he's so confident to push this car so much. And it's obviously worked out for him. You can't always account for where other people on the track will be, but it's nice and spread here. It's Callum Brandt leading the way then. Jake Cranstone second, Lewis Ward third, Dominic Brennan fourth, Taylor Adams in fifth. This is round number 1 of Season 6 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Thanks as ever to our championship sponsors, Derbyshire Holiday Homes, Orris Analytics, and of course thanks to Sim Racing Magazine and Andy Marston, the mastermind behind it all. You're listening to Chaz Draycott and Ed May up here in the commentary box on Chaz Draycott Media. We have the full season coming your way every 2 weeks on a Tuesday night from 7:45. We start here at the first round of the season at the wonderful Road Atlanta, where it all started nearly 3 years ago, with Sebring in 2 weeks' time. In a month we go to Interlagos, then Donington Park in the UK, Spa-Francorchamps. Then we have an additional week off on the 3rd of June for iRacing's Week 13, so then it's 4 weeks between Spa and Imola, and then we finish the campaign at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. And I tell you what, having a sprint race meeting there in the middle of June is going to be hot under the collar.
Yeah, the GP lat as well, not the Nürburgring, as some drivers were joking about in the Discord. I think,
oh, God, yeah.
might not be for the best racing if they were at the Nordschleife. As good as that circuit is for sort of the 24-hour endurance races, it's maybe not so great for a 1 hour or 2 30-minute sprints.
Very, very true indeed. Just a quick shout as well to those that aren't able to race with us here this evening. We do not have on track at the moment Heinz Mayer. He's, as I said earlier, on his hollybobs at the moment. Gary Tall, racing for Spontex CDM Esports as well. He isn't here for this first round. Adam Watson, we're looking forward to seeing Adam Watson join the ranks again. Obviously, this will be his drop round of the championship, using this first one as a round off. And I'm just trying to figure out the final driver on the list, because we are 4 drivers down at present. And I'm just scanning through it. I'm so sorry if it is you and you're listening to this and I haven't noticed yet. But I'm pretty sure we've got Matthias Tem. Matthias Tem is not here either. Matthias, a very exciting driver that we've seen in multiple series before for Fury Simsport. And he's been very eager to get himself and his teammate into the championship as well. And I look forward to seeing Matthias return as well for round 2 onwards. It should be good.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to have the drivers, obviously, that might not be able to make it for the first round, definitely showing their intent to be around here for as much of the season as they can. We obviously know that real life commitments have to come before the sim racing commitments, as we've got our leaders coming into the pits. Actually, Jake Cranstone, Callum Brandt into the pits, Lewis Ward following through. Lewis actually did drop back quite considerably over those last few laps as well, so definitely some sort of damage that was affecting his race. Hopefully he's able to get that repaired and we can see him fit and ready to fight back up through the order. But already Taylor Adams and Taylor Adams Neil Score have gone past. Still waiting on Callum Brandt and Jake Cranstone to get up and moving.
Has he gone a bit deep? Nah, like you could see the front morph out on that Mercedes, so it had taken a big old whack. The drivers that have carried on though, Taylor Adams, Nils Core, PJ Clysons and John Bailiff actually has continued on for an extra lap as well, which is interesting to see. He's going to move on for one extra part of the stint. What about Matt Slight as well? He's trying to extend his stint. He's going to have a bit of traffic in front of him here actually. That's Lewis Ward coming out of the pit lane just ahead of the McLaren. Dominic Brennan just behind. Now, can this help extend Matt's stint even more, having another car out there? We'll have to see, but it's Callum Brandt still ahead of Jake Cranstone, but not by much as we go into the final 18 minutes of the race. Surely you've got to think now, Ed, it's going to be between these two for the first race win of the season.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that's going to be the case or not, but Jake Cranstone definitely managed to close up to Callum Brandt, didn't he, over those pit stops. Is really now piling the pressure on. You could see that Callum's starting to feel it, pushing a little bit too hard, maybe out of that right-hander, a little bit wide, losing touch of time.
Definitely not losing touch of time with Christopher Smith right behind the Orris watch car. He's touching time quite literally, isn't he? All over the back of it. Wow, he was glued to it then. Really, really good stuff. I don't blame him. It's a very pretty Porsche, but I bet you can smell the vinyl from here, can't you?
Yeah, he's very close. It's almost too close to comfort actually between Christopher Smith and Rob Sharp.
Taylor Adams has gone on for another lap. And this is what
quite a bit of fuel.
This is what Taylor does best, isn't it?
Yeah, can't imagine going to the end, obviously.
No, he won't.
The race is going, but he'll be able to save a lot of time in the pit lane, won't you? Having to take less fuel on board for this final stop. Look where Nils Cole finds himself as well, just behind Dominic Brennan and Lewis Ward as well, up ahead of him. He's a lot of fighting for, I think, and on the road at the moment, 3rd position when Taylor Adams comes into the pits, depending obviously on where we find Taylor.
Yes, absolutely. Taylor just coming down the hill now into the chicane for the 30th time in this race, lap number 30. He's going to make his way over the hill. And he's going to surely dump the clutch, lob the car into the pit lane. Yes. Now, I wonder whether some of the guys didn't necessarily get speeding issues on the way in, but maybe an unsafe pit entry, because you can very easily go over the line on the way in here, can't you, and turn in a little bit late. So I'm intrigued to see whether it was anything to do with that. And there's Ben Chalcraft chasing down John Bailiff. They've got Chris Humphreys just in front, trying to stay out of their way in his blue Porsche. Chris joined us for the Club Racing Fest at the end of last season, and he's got in John's way a little bit there, actually. He needs to now back out of this one on the right-hand side. Potentially move over for these guys. It doesn't seem to be making it very easy, though. And this is, yeah, John's understandably flashing the lights a little bit as Callum Brandt goes through and retakes the lead. Cranstone next up. Where is Adams going to come out? Is he going to be in 4th place, or is he going to be 3rd ahead of Lewis Ward? He is by a considerable margin. Wow, look at that. Again, Taylor Adams, he's been very good at this season after season. We know that he's one of the absolute drivers to watch when it comes to these endurance races, but that's just phenomenal.
Really is very impressive there, making that strategy call work. It's something you have to basically commit to from the very first lap and hope that you've made the right call. You cannot afford to second guess yourself, because then if you go between one strategy or another, you're just having a compromised race. So to do that and immediately commit really does show that he has got a lot of, what's the word, bravery, I think is the best way to say it. A lot of bravery to gamble, but also have confidence that it's going to pay off.
As it has been described on a Chaz Draycott media broadcast before, testicular fortitude.
Yes. Plenty of that.
But not in the usual way you'd expect in racing, where it comes to, like, you know, a really brave and gutsy move around the outside. It's more just having the guts to commit to a strategy that early on in a race like this. But again, that's where the benefit comes from a lot of these drivers who have raced in this championship before. They know what to expect, and they know what the format works like and how the cars behave. A lot of these guys, they haven't found or had the chance to run with people of a similar pace in a race environment, because that's the other thing. You can do as many laps as you want testing these things, and obviously check the fuel numbers and so on. You can never account for how much slipstream you'll have in a race, how close you'll be to other cars in said race as well. Looking at Tim Perry here at the moment, 19th position for him. Tim was a consistent front runner and I believe a race winner actually in the SRM GT3 Winter Tour. Having a bit of a tough time of it here after his earlier moment with Chris Humphries. I imagine he won't be too pleased with that one. But John Bailiff, he won't be too pleased with it either, but he's having a good old ding-dong at the minute, and he's just on the outer fringes of getting a top 10 in his first race in the championship.
Yeah, he's not having a bad effort whatsoever. Obviously a little bit far back from getting that top 10 with PJ Clyson's nearly just about 2 seconds up the road. 1.8 is the official timing gap, but it's still a really impressive effort from John on debut. Great race as well actually for the aforementioned PJ Clyson's. He's up 8 positions, the most gained from, well, where you start the race till now in the entire field, I think. I can't see anyone who's gained any more than PJ, so that's a really impressive effort for him. Team 11 drivers scoring well. Obviously Lewis Ward just outside the podium places, but could easily make that up. He's able to catch up to Taylor Adams. Look, though, I think the top team at this moment in time is going to be RD Simsport with Callum leading.
Yes.
And Daniel Mills in 7th.
Yeah, Daniel Mills a bit under the radar here. Same with Guy Edwards, the two of them just scoring points. Same with Ben Idris Abdullahi as well, and PJ Clyson's. These guys are all running their own races now in these later stints. It's actually the battle behind. Lee Berridge has found himself in the points as well. 6 places gained for him. PJ Clyson's has gained 8 spots so far. He's the biggest mover in the field. Ben Idris Abdullahi not much further behind with 7 places gained. Sunlight has been quite an interesting one here, hasn't it, Ed, as well? Because it's been very bright and then very gloomy all of a sudden here. The lighting model has certainly shown us just the stark contrast in the weather as, Callum has been off the road for a moment, and look behind him. Jake Cranstone is getting into the slipstream, 3/4 of a second back. Still 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, and I was about to actually comment that Callum Brandt's been doing a great job out ahead, being able to really sort of stretch his legs and keep Jake at bay, even though Jake's going to get in the slipstream. But now, with that little mistake, I think Jake will start to sense a little bit of weakness in Callum, and he'll hope that he'll be able to really take advantage. That's 5/10 gained on that last lap by Jake Cranstone, as Nils Core and Dominic Brennan battling side by side with one another. The two BMWs new on the grid. You can see Nils Core going for that move up the inside. The brakes just overshooting it a little bit on the inside, but parking it on the apex. Wonderful little move though, is it just to find the space up the inside by Dominic Brennan, who's then just able to retake that position.
Yeah, great battle that. Really close stuff. And I think Nils maybe, I don't know if he got a slowdown penalty for that at all, because he's still right with Dominic Brennan, but he really did cut a lot of that inside curb. We've got a great quartet of drivers going on here. We've got Lee Berridge chasing down Ben Shalcraft, Rob Sharp and John Bailiff as well. Some of them, well, all of them with mixed experience in this championship, from one end of the scale very much to the other. In fact, actually, we've probably got our least experienced driver in this championship right next to our most experienced driver on this grid right now, which is really cool to see. I'm really impressed by John Bailiff in this one as well. He's kept his nose clean here. I've seen him definitely getting his elbows out in touring cars in the past, but a lovely display of controlled driving here in that Aston Martin as well. Highest placed Aston Martin in the field too. Not many of them in the championship. Dennis Van Beelen 16th, and of course Arthur Thurtle and Christopher Rowe, 2 Aston Martins we expect right near the sharp end of the order, not having a night they would have wanted to begin their championship campaign. But back up at the front then, less than 10 minutes to go here at Road Atlanta, and it's Callum Brandt and Jake Cranstone fighting to the end.
Yeah, here we go. The gap coming down a little bit more in the favour of Jake over that last lap. He's starting to just turn the screw a touch. Maybe not necessarily going for another diving move just yet, but seeing if he can force Callum into a little bit of a mistake, because Callum hasn't necessarily looked invincible tonight, has he? He's certainly shown a few cracks here or there with those mistakes, as we saw well just a couple laps ago, which was what brought this gap down to where we see it now. Can't afford any more slip-ups, and he's got quite a bit of traffic, as you can see up ahead, to try and negotiate. First of those is Oliver Carradine, as PJ Clyson's off the road and out of the race.
Yeah, the biggest mover in the field has had the same mistake that we saw from Christopher Smith and John Roberts. Oh, that's a sickening impact, and wow, the guys behind very lucky not to get collected in that one. We've also had Oliver Carradine have an off. Welcome back to the series, Ollie. Car's just going to go too deep into the corner. The ABS gives up on him. And there has also been a move between Nils Corr and Dominic Brennan again, and Dom's going to get him back again. Look at this. Great racing between these pair and these Beamers.
So this time it was the outside line that Nils Corr tries. Just gets his nose ahead, but then on the inside is forced onto a much tighter line. Would maybe favour him a little bit with the inside and towards the final corner, but just the speed that Dominic Brennan's, and the confidence that he has to carry it all the way through, is what helps him out. But then I think up the inside, finally Nils Corr just gets the move sealed. So it was the outside line that was, I think, the factor there, that Nils Corr was able to really work to his advantage there, just because it then gives you the inside for the next few corners.
Oh, Chris Humphreys. Oh, dearie me. He may not have deserved that. Not that Jake did it intentionally, but he was a little bit in the way of the leaders there as Callum Brandt goes around. Jake has to take the opportunity, goes down the inside. Oh, it just catches him with that left rear. And hopefully Jake's car hasn't got any damage on it, and we can clearly see that Chris's has, unfortunately. He's taking quite the whack there as he heads back down the hill.
If he has damage, he certainly doesn't look it, because he's really putting the pace down now to put the pressure on Callum Brandt.
Yeah, reigning champion.
2.5 tenths of a second. And like you say, yeah, the reigning champions certainly trying to drive the wheels off his Porsche. Gold livery, emphasising what he's going to be going for here tonight and for this season. Straight
out of the blocks as well for Jake Cranstone. Very impressive. Great to see Callum Brandt as well arrive back on the scene with such ferocity as well. That pole position time, really, really impressive earlier on. Now he's flashing, letting know that Francois Brandet is the next car. He's saying, look, sunshine, I need you to get a shift in. We'll go on board with, Jake Cranstone. See how this plays out now as they come through the right-hander. Is Francois going to move over to the right? Yes, he is. Nice stuff. That's exactly what you want to see. But yeah, Jake, a little bit deep there, wasn't he? Although he carries the speed.
Carries the speed. He's a little bit slow off the corner, but he's still very nice and close. Just 3 tenths, actually, the gap between the two of them. So he could fancy another signature Cranstone dive up the inside, but it's going to be covered off slightly there by Callum Brandt. Just putting his car in the middle of the circuit there, just to sort of make life as difficult as possible for the Porsche in behind, but we know that Porsche is so good on its brakes, isn't it? That's a real thing that we've seen from that car every single season, is that car is the best at getting it stopped on a 5-pence piece. And I tell you what, that could really suit Jake's driving style.
Yeah, absolutely could. We know that Jake is very, very good on the brakes. These two are still dancing. Dominic Brennan and Nils Kor. How many times have we seen these guys have a good old scrap? It's lovely to see it continuing on as well. Dominic, in one of the previous winter tours as well, was almost champion, I believe, with Nils Kor eventually taking that title. Dominic tried to take it right down to the wire and nearly did so. Nils eventually then the following season, after threatening to win a race for so long, finally won in the winter tour and then went on to take that championship and then took the GT4 Challenge Championship after that as well. Really came of age in that series and in that sort of time frame, let's say. Since then, Nils Kor has remained his sort of cool, calm and collected self, and he wasn't quite able to get with Cranstone in the previous season and beat him to the title. He still remained very formidable in the late stages, though. I remember at the likes of Catalunya and Zolder, he just made the races look so easy, didn't he?
Really did. He is certainly a driver that we'll be expecting big things of for this season as well. Again, the strategies, I think, is where Nils Kor has started to shine. Obviously, like you said earlier on, he dominated, but now with the level just getting bigger and higher and higher each and every time, start to have to try a few different tricks to get the better of the rest of the field. Jake Cranstown and Callum Brandt continuing to battle and keep each other occupied, but they're still pulling away from most of the rest of the field, actually.
Yeah, it's incredible pace this by our top two, and the commitment down here is just massive as well. They're using all of the curbs. They're really attacking every element of this circuit. It's a great wild ride of a roller coaster here. You're on board with Jake Cranstown, reigning champion of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge here on Chaz Draycott Media. Thanks as always to Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Orris Analytics, the two championship sponsors, and of course Andy Marston at Sim Racing Magazine for the blessing for this all to go on under the delightful yellow banner. Now, there is a bit of a run for Jake Cranstown. He's still going to get the benefit of the slipstream, but Callum, tiny bit out of shape there by the look of it, Ed. Maybe a chink in the armour? Oh, he's definitely showing now that he knows he needs to defend.
Yes, 100%, and I think it's going to be now or never, because look at how close Jake is, fading to the outside line. Hard on the brakes if he's able to keep the overlap along the outside, but look at how much Callum Brandt is just trying to force Jake into a position that he doesn't want to be in. But now the run out of that sort of second to last corner, once more covered off by Callum Brandt. He's putting his car in all the perfect positions to keep Jake Cranstown at bay, but he doesn't want to frustrate figures, Jake. He can't afford to let this get the better of him and throw away what could be some strong championship points. He needs to balance the risk with the potential gain.
Absolutely. Just looking a little bit further down the points, by the way, Tim Perry is now back into the points in 17th position. He's having a fight with Dennis Van Beelen. Arthur Thurtle has now made his way into the points. He's ahead of Christopher Smith. The two of them have overtaken Mark Johnson and continue to move forward. Francois Brandet has got his hands full with Oliver Carwadine in the mix as well. The cars just behind him are Nils Kor and Dominic Brennan, still having a brilliant scrap, smacking these two BMWs together like a pair of very heavy castanets as they all try and, well, weave their way through the traffic. Have to say as well, an impressive recovery here, Ed, is the fact that Lewis Ward is now right up with Taylor Adams in the later stages of this race.
Yeah, that's really impressive, isn't it? I think getting that damage repaired has really allowed Lewis to refine that pace that was lost earlier on, rediscover it. So now we can see if he's able to get back up onto the podium. It'd be a brilliant recovery from earlier. It was difficult to figure exactly where that damage came from. I think he gets caught out almost on the brakes there by the different position that Taylor was going for. Nearly actually finds himself up into third place, maybe a little bit sooner than he was expecting, but has to settle for now. Again, we've got this lap and one more to go, so basically 2 laps now remaining in this first race of the season. Callum Brandt leading from Jake Cranstown. That gap now over half a second, so Callum over that last lap just, I think, really starting to settle it down a touch more, but It's not going to be plain sailing when you've got Jake Cranstoun in behind you, is it?
No.
Never would be.
No, absolutely not. Jake, of course, not just a formidable opponent, but winning the championship in his debut season last season. Certainly his way to make the mark on a set championship, especially when there's been drivers trying it season after season after season. Jake just came in and really swept the rug underneath a lot of these guys. But can this be Callum Brandt's season? Is this the one where he finally gets that championship? There's so many drivers inside the top 10 that could all end up in different positions throughout this championship. I must say as well, John Bailiff has now made it into the top 10. He's having to work hard to hold off Rob Sharp, Ben Chalcraft and Lee Berridge, but a great debut here by the Brit for Win It or Bin It Racing. His teammate Eric Manentveld is on the reserve list, hoping to get into the championship. But what a great job being done here by John Bailiff. But as we look towards the front of the order then, Callum Brandt has opened up that gap even more now with Jake Cranstoun behind, and we're on to the final lap of the race here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, and Callum Brandt only a 10th off of his personal best right at the end of the race as well. Just shows that he's finally hitting his stride right where he needs it at the end of this first round of the season. It has been a dream start for Callum Brandt. Just needs to nurse it through this final lap.
Oh no!
He's pushing hard as, oh dear, if we just jinxed John Bailiff. Never mind, he's going to try and keep himself along the inside, but it's three-way through the final corner. Really sketchy there for the push on the inside of Rob Sharp. Now 2x2, and all of a sudden, it's 3 wide in towards turn 1. This is sketchy stuff.
Lee Berridge down the inside, trying to get 3 places in a matter of corners. Runs a bit wide, and big testicular fortitude by Ben Chalcraft. Round the outside, says, go on, thank you very much. Nose to tail as they go through turn 3. Great stuff. All of them continue on. Bailiff still in a great position considering it's his debut. But down the back straight for the final time, it's Callum Brandt leading Jake Cranstoun. I don't think that we're going to see a huge send on the brakes here from Jake. We know he's good on the brakes, but he's not daft enough to go for that in round 1 of the season. And as he comes through the final corner, it's been a while since we've said this, but I am delighted to have the RD Simsport driver of Callum Brandt winning round 1 of the SRM GT4 Challenge. Brandt does it ahead of Cranstoun. Great drive. And it is a McLaren, a Porsche and a Mercedes on the podium as Taylor Adams holds off Lewis Ward, Nils Core and Dominic Brennan. Straight after looking at wedding venues, they finish 5th and 6th. Daniel Mills in 7th ahead of Guy Edwards, who is going to finish in 8th place. He's going to be ahead of Ben Idris Abdullahi, but what about this lot, Ed?
Here we go, throughout a chaotic battle for that 10th position. I think Ben Chalcraft's going to be able to come out on top, but I tell you what, that was one heck of a train all the way through. Ooh, a little bit squirrely. Maybe it's not all done and dusted, because look at Lee Berridge. He's going to try and hang it around the outside, flat to the floor. Isn't going to be enough. Ben Chalcraft takes 10th, ahead of Lee Berridge, ahead of Rob Sharp, and spare a thought for John Bailiff, who worked so hard, wasn't it, for that top 10, just for one little mistake to just undo it, but still can take a lot of positives from tonight, his debut in the season for Sim Racing Magazine. And it's great to see him score some good points as well for a hopeful championship effort.
Christopher Smith has just got ahead of Matt Slight on the final lap. I think Matt just ran out of fuel on the back straight. Christopher Smith gets the final point scoring position. Matt Slight will be devastated with that one. Arthur Thurtle will not be necessarily pleased with how his night went either. He gets 2 championship points in 19th place. Tim Perry got some points as well. Simon Povey, though, a big DNF there. PJ Clysons as well. He didn't have the race he would have wanted. There was a number of them that didn't have the run of the rub of the green, let's say. Jake Cranstoun, though, great first round to start his championship defence, but Callum Brandt was just absolutely insatiable in that one. Awesome.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. What a way to start off this new Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge season. It never disappoints, does it, Chaz? It always brings up some excellent racing, and I'll tell you what, from how close it was, we are in for yet another classic of a season.
We absolutely are. We really are looking forward to the remainder of this championship, hopefully being just as exciting as that first race. But like we've been saying, the calibre of the grid throughout this, and you know, the continued improvement time and time again, has just been amazing. Absolutely amazing. From one championship to the next, it's just been so much fun to watch it grow and grow, really. It's been absolutely mega, and we look forward to how the rest of the season continues on. Callum Brandt takes the first win of the season then in the SRM GT4 Challenge. Jake Cranstone, reigning champion, in second place. Taylor Adams in third, ahead of Lewis Ward and Nils Kaur, 3 previous champions inside the top 5. Dominic Brennan finishes 6th after a very busy night of racing. Daniel Mills is 7th, ahead of his teammate, or stablemate at least, Guy Edwards. Ben Idris Abdullahi, another top 10 for him. Ben Chalcraft gets his first top 10 of the season after a very intense fight at the end. Lee Berridge, Rob Sharp and John Bailiff all survive that final kerfuffle, with John Bailiff having a fantastic debut. Big tip of the hat to John, very well done. Stephen Codman finishes 14th in the Trackmouse Racing McLaren, very under the radar, ahead of Tim Perry in his Aston Martin Mercedes. Never mind, Chaz. Dennis Van Beelen next up in 16th place, ahead of Chris Jennings and Stephen Burns, with Arthur Thurtle and Christopher Smith the final points finishers. Kim Such and Christopher Rowe just outside of the points, same with Ryan Penny. Matt Slight eventually a lap down after, I believe, running out of fuel on the final lap. Francois Brandet next up, ahead of Oliver Carwadine, Mark Johnson and John Roberts, with Simon Price, PJ Clysons, Chris Humphreys and Simon Povey, the final 3 there, non-finishers in that race. So, highlights, Ed. Any highlights from you? I mean, it was a race that once again had a bit of everything, like SRM races do, but there was certainly some standout performers there, and maybe performers that didn't have quite the night they would have wanted.
Yeah, it was certainly a race of mixed fortunes for much of the grid, much of the front runners as well, actually. Like we said, some big hitters struggling out there. Obviously, Arthur Thurtle being one of them. Same with, well, champion as well, Simon Povey, not scoring well. Late dramas for PJ Clysons, who was doing well inside the top 10. There's just action everywhere we look, but we've got drivers waiting in the wings we can speak to, actually, Chaz. I think last season's champion, who is just joining us now.
Absolutely. Jake Cranstone in the chat. Great to see you, Jake. Very well done on second place in that first round of the season. You had to work for that, though, didn't you? That seems like quite the calibre of grid.
Yes, that was pretty sweaty, to be honest. I was trying to hunt down Callum at the end. He did a great job trying to push a mistake, because I couldn't get past him on the straights. So I was just trying to hound him, really, but he was rock solid. So good win for Callum.
But a great battle as well throughout. I mean, the two of you were so close at points that it seemed like there was not going to be anything to separate you at the end. It must be lovely to jump straight back in a championship like that and have a clean race from day one with, you know, some very even competition.
Yes, and battle for a win and not get bumped down to 4th place right on the last lap, because that's happened quite a few times recently.
Oh, really?
Well, Formula 1.
I mean, yeah. I was wondering whether you were going to say it or I had to. But still, I mean, you're back to defend your championship this season. Is there any pressure that comes with that, or is it just a case of you're just here to have a good time?
Well, my car's a little bit lighter because it's got less numbers on it. So...
Oh, there he is.
No, it's great. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have been in this position before, so just get on with it. Want to enjoy the racing, and it was great fun. So yeah, good to be back.
Well, it's great to have you, Jake, and obviously we look forward to seeing how the rest of the title defence season goes. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, well, shout out to the usual Ali, Dave watching along at home, Ellen as well. Great race to Callum and Lewis as well. It's a shame the damage he had put him out of contention. And I'd also like to give a big shout out to Ben Chalcraft for the great sportsmanship in qualifying with the drafting exchanges. That was good. Thank you.
Well, he's going to get a smack on the wrist now. You've thrown him under the bus. Thanks very much as always, though, Jake. Really appreciate your time and effort, and we'll hopefully see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you, yeah.
Jake Cranstone there. Champion, of course, at the moment, and it certainly looks like he's going to have a lot of people biting at the... chomping at the bit, let's say, to take that title away from him.
Yeah, it was an amazing race from Jake. Obviously, it's just about getting those strong championship points on the board in the first race. Obviously, he would have loved to have won, but we have a driver in that is going to be, I think, just a little bit more pleased with the way that the race went, wasn't it, Chaz? It was a really good effort from him.
Absolutely. Straight out the gates and straight to a race win, Callum. Welcome back to SRM, mate. You must be buzzing with that result. A fantastic way, the perfect way to start your season.
Yeah, definitely. couldn't put it better myself, really. Yeah, really pleased with that. Sort of bottle qualifying a little bit, but made up for in a race, so happy days.
I was going to say experience is obviously very valuable in a championship like this. You know a lot of the guys here, you know how the format works and how the cars work. Did you know going into that race, despite not having the qualifying you would have wanted, that it didn't mean as much and that you could make the race work?
Yeah, definitely. I know, obviously I've raced Jake and Lewis before and they were in the top 3, so know if you can keep it close, those guys drive clean, you've still got an opportunity to really still get a win if you play it right. I saved a little bit of fuel first and managed to nip into the lead, and then just managed to secure it from there. Just have to drive the wheels off the thing though, really.
It certainly looked like it, and that's why we love having you here, Callum. We can always tell when you're absolutely wringing its neck, and it's great to see it. Obviously, it's a much shorter season in terms of race meetings this time around, only 7 of them. Does that add a little bit more pressure to you as drivers to score those points, or do you sort of have it all in check?
I'm not really thinking about it yet. I just want to take it race by race and start thinking, put expectations on it. I've done that in the past, and it usually goes to my detriment when I try too hard and go slower. So I'm just going to try and take it race by race this season. With it being a shorter season, it obviously will have a bigger impact, but I just want to put points on the board every week, really.
Absolutely. That's what wins championships, and we obviously look forward to seeing how the championship fight develops. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
All my teammates, Guy, Chris, and Dan, they all did a really good job. Always shout to you guys in the booth and everybody watching at home, and all of our sponsors.
Cracking stuff. Great to speak to you as always, Callum. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you again soon.
Cheers, guys.
Callum Brandt there winning the first race of the season, Ed. Fantastic performance from him, and I mean, if he keeps that sort of pace and ferocity up all season despite saving a bit of fuel, I don't think anybody can get anywhere near him.
No, absolutely not. He's certainly put himself in great contention for one of the championship favourites, it's fair to say. He pulled off a brilliant strategy call and also just brilliant race pace. I think that was the important thing. He qualified strongly, which put him in that great position to then execute the strategy to perfection. It's looking like it could be a very good season, not just for Callum, but I think both the RD Sim Sport drivers, because they scored some seriously strong championship points. Let's not forget, of course, his teammate Daniel Mills finishing in 7th. Should put RD Sim Sport comfortably as the best team from this first round of the championship.
Definitely, absolutely. And we're going to drag in somebody that may not have finished where he wanted to tonight, but I tell you what, it's great to have Francois Brandet in the championship with us. Francois has been knocking on the door for quite a while, and he has managed to crack the code, and he's got in. He's been taking part in events with us for quite a bit now. And Francois, your first race in the SRM GT4 Challenge tonight, did it live up to expectations?
Bonjour. Yeah, considering I did something stupid, I think I lived up to my own expectations.
Well, what was it like trying to fight with some of these guys here? Because, I mean, the grid, as it often does in this championship, has just grown in caliber again and again.
Oh, man. Aliens everywhere, dude. But like I was talking about with Callum and Jake, all I care about is really finding a few people to fight with on not a weekly basis, but, every race. And I know I'm way down in the back, but I don't really care. I enjoyed the racing a lot tonight, and that's all I care about, really. I don't want to try hard or do as I did in the past. I just want to find every race some fun to have, and I definitely did tonight.
And that's the main thing, Francois, and that's why it's great to have somebody like you in the championship. We have tried to go back to the championship's roots a bit this time and make sure it's just about the fun and it's not overly serious competition. And it's lovely to hear that that's already been felt through the first round. Obviously, we've got 2 weeks until the next round of the championship. How are you feeling about heading to Sebring?
Well, I just got out of some extensive training for the 12 hours. So, plenty of memories, some good, some bad, but hopefully some way better next time I get around that place, which I definitely have nightmare about now after last weekend.
Well, fingers crossed that it turns out to be a good race for you and you can get some points on the board. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick thanks to?
Oh man, I just want to have a quick shout out to everybody in here. I've been legit dying to join SRM for a while. I think after watching so many races on your own YouTube channel and managing to get involved in the special events and now in the main thing is a really great feeling. I'm very humble. I'm very happy to be here. And yeah, shout out to everybody who makes such a great community of the Sim Racing magazine.
Well, it's great to have you, Francois, and nicely said. And hopefully we'll speak to you again very soon. But if not, enjoy your week off. And yeah, we'll see you after Sebring.
Yeah, cheers. Have a good night, you two. And a great cast, as always.
Thank you very much, mate. Cheers. See you soon.
See ya.
Francois Brandet, absolutely lovely gentleman, and of course, fierce competitor. And you know, as he said though, Ed, he's not too worried about the results. He just wants to have a good time here, and that's exactly what we're aiming for this season, as explained, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the way the championship is organised, all the drivers will score points, but it means that those drivers that may not often find themselves in the point-scoring positions all too often, when they do get to score points, it becomes all that more of a rich reward for their efforts. So we'll hope to see Francois able to get there and have that sort of warm feeling of scoring those points and getting up the order, but he's still, like you say, just content battling with whoever he finds himself out on track with, which is exactly what we want to have here at SRM.
Yeah, definitely. It's been another absolutely belting night of racing to start our championship. As you'd have heard then, in 2 weeks' time we head to Sebring for round 2 of Season 6 in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Thanks again, Ed May, in the commentary box with me, Chaz Draycott. Thanks as always to Orris Analytics and Derbyshire Holiday Homes for their sponsorship of this wonderful championship. And thanks as always to the drivers as well for putting on such an excellent, excellent show. That's all from us here on the channel tonight. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and we hope to see you in 2 weeks' time at Sebring. Have a good one. And look at Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete. The two of them go flying through the right-hand side, then the left-hand side. Jochen Hahn around the outside, and Lucas Hahn, no father and son, come together on the exit of turn 1.
And the best thing about this is the fact that it's still a 15-minute sprint race. They're not extended the time of the race. It's still just like, it's going to be, what, 7 laps of Spa-Francorchamps?
We get to the real nitty-gritty of motorsport.
Cranston and Smith are side by side for the title in the very final race of the season. As they go back up the hill towards the Schumacher end, Nils Core clips the back at 10. Simon Povey clips the side of Nils Core. They go over the hill and Povey's around.
Oh my god, that's going to definitely be the thumbnail when it hit me in the right direction. Thank you so much.
23 cars.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.